This is the Effing Business Podcast. You ask the questions, we answer.
All right, so episode 27 of the podcast. Want to talk about today sharing information, right? So I think like there's a old time saying of, you know, oh, don't give them your secret sauce, or they'll use it, they'll take your recipe, or they'll take your secret sauce and make their own secret sauce. People want to always hide everything, and I think it's slowly changed where people give everything away for free. You see a lot of people, influencers, things like that, giving away all their best content, all their best advice, so on and so forth. Why is that? Why are you touching your mic?
I can't help myself.
So give me your ideas, Aaron, because I think everyone should share everything, because I think people aren't willing to do everything you're willing to do.
So I remember reading an article a long time ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, where the lady was saying, as a businesswoman, she never shares information. Like, she was very secretive, and I'm that way naturally. Like, I don't like to tell people anything about what I do. Like, you always make fun of me. I don't even tell people, like in my synagogue, that what business I own or what I do. And then when I read this, she was saying that, you know, it helped her network with other people by talking about herself, right? So then people kind of opened up and talked about themselves, and it helped, you know, spark networks and so forth. And that resonated with me. I think that for the most part, very few people are going to like take any information that you share with them and do anything about it other than call you, right? So
Right.
we talked about creating how-to videos where we show people how to like adjust their own claim, right?
Right.
And I'm like, what are you crazy? You're going to give them, you know, what we do for a living? And you're like, no, nobody's going to actually adjust their own claim, or very few will. They might start and get frustrated. They're going to end up calling us. And I think that's kind of what sharing information does. It opens the door, but very few people really can watch these videos or whatever it is and do it themselves. They end up coming back to you.
Yeah, these how-to. I mean, like, yes, we don't sell like material. For example, like Home Depot puts out a lot of videos on how-to because they sell the materials you need to build all these things and do these things, right? But no one's sitting there. I mean, I've watched tons of videos and says, this is way too complicated for me, and I'm not doing this. Like, I'm going to hire somebody that knows how to do this. So us teaching somebody how to put up Facebook ads on Facebook, like, they may do it the first time, but they're not going to sit there and monitor their stuff 30 days a month, you know, for a couple hours a day, sitting there making sure their money's being spent the right way. They're not going to sit here and figure out how to create content that talks to customers, that has good context, that speaks to customers. I think that that's a very naive, small-headed view of, if I give them everything, they'll take it and run, because that's what I do with it, right? So if you give me enough information, you give us enough information, we're going to try, oh, this guy's giving us everything, let me figure out how I can make money from it, because if he's making money from it, I can make money from it. But that's a small part of the population that, to be quite honest, just has the balls to do it, right? To go out there and say, oh, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right. Otherwise, we'd all be farmers.
Correct.
And we've moved away from that as a society.
So I mean, there's worker bees, and there's the queen. Most bees aren't meant to be the queen. They're not built to be the queen, both mentally, physically, whatever it may be, that certain profession. And I think that, lack of better words, testicular fortitude to really go out.
Well, I think it's more than that also. It's some of that, but it's also in an efficient society, right? That's what we all strive to be in. We all tend to do what we think we're good at and outsource the things we're not good at, right? So, like, honestly, I couldn't change my oil. It would take me, if I went online and I tried to figure out how to change my
Right,
oil, it would take me an entire day.
But they're giving you a
right?
price.
I could
that's
get it
worth
done in an hour.
Right, but it's worth your time.
Correct.
Right, but if it took all day and you'd give up your car for the full day, you might say, you know what, it's not worth my time. On a Sunday, I could do this in 2 hours.
If I knew how to change my oil.
Right.
Right? So, like, the guys who already know how to do that are laughing at me when they hear this. But the people who don't, they're like, yeah, I'm not changing my own oil. I'm going to take it.
But even if I knew how to change my oil, right? Like, so
Right.
for example, just because I know how to do something, it's now a time question.
That
right?
as well.
Is it worth my time to sit here and change my oil? It's not. Conceptually, it's not so hard to change.
So once
oil.
upon a time, when humanity lived on farms and they farmed their own land and their own meals and so forth, there was very little trade, and that's how they operated. But in an economy where we all live basically on top of each other, we're willing to trade time for service.
And farm out everything.
Correct. So when you show people how to do something, that ends up just creating an advertisement of, come to me, I will do it for you. I've already showed you that I can do this.
Most people, if you show them how to do it, they're going to want you to do it for them.
Because now they trust
It's
that
basically
it can be done.
advertising for yourself, right? That, hey, I can do this. Here's how you can do it. Most people don't do it. They're like, hey, I'd love to pay you to do this for me, right? Because either they don't want to do it, they don't have the time, whatever calculation they have in their head, hey, I'm a really good adjuster. I don't have time to market for myself. I'm going to hire an agency, Well, I said, well, I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I'll figure it out. I learned it, and we started advertising for ourselves. So, and then turn that into a business. That's how we think. Most people aren't going to be sitting here, well, I'll figure it out, learn it, then grow it, then build it, and then start a company, right? I think most people would be like, hey, I'll just pay you, Mr. Agency, more money,
Absolutely.
right? Mr. Agency, to do everything we're doing here.
And they could spend their free time the way they want, or they could spend their time on things that they do well that we may not be able to jump right into and do ourselves.
This is why companies, even like Amazon, farm out a lot of things.
So, do you put that into relation with going to seminars?
When you're in a business, you have to constantly stay ahead and you have to learn what goes on in your industry. So you have a lot of those people as well.
Yeah.
Right? You have others who just want to be in the in crowd. You have other people who are looking for something new to do and they're just going to a conference to hear what they have to sell.
Exactly. What he's saying, like, there's conferences where the guy gets up there, speaks, talks about everything. I did this, I did that, rah stuff, motivation, and then sells his product at the end of, here's a ClickFunnels product, right? Or here's X product. Or
But we've gone to different events, and the events where they're selling something were always the events we left saying like, oh man, we just spent all this money and time, and like, they're selling us something. Then we've gone to events where they've taught, they've been learning events, right?
Yeah.
Okay, like the one we went to in Chicago, right?
they're selling something, but okay.
They're selling, everybody's selling, but they're selling something, but you're learning in the process. Like we learned a lot about things that we didn't even know existed.
Right,
We learned a lot of software we didn't know we could use, right?
Right.
So I think you go to these different events and, the ones that are just blatantly selling stuff, like, here, go sign up over there, and then half the crowd runs over there.
I'm
like,
not gonna lie.
It was like, what?
Subplot here going on. Those things are genius. You bring in 5 great speakers. You bring in 3 idiots that talk about some crazy business idea, and literally people line up through the door to sign up for them. They're $5,000, $10,000.
How many people were in that room? 8,000 people?
8,000 people were in this room.
A third of them ran to these tables.
Yeah, it was nuts, and all the programs were $3, $4, $5, $6, $10,000, and it's just like, what did you just sign up for? Another conference that will teach us probably nothing.
Yeah,
But-
we're in the wrong business.
So sorry for my subplot crossover there, but I think getting down to the whole nut of the conversation, he said, Aaron says, like, I just don't want to be bothered when I go to synagogue, right? I don't want to be bothered when I get there by this client or that person or so on and so forth, or even just be asked questions in general, even if they're not clients. Like, I think it's detrimental. He's taking a calculated risk. There may be the largest client he's ever had or the smallest client he's ever had sitting next to him, and they would never know, right? So I think it's being a walking, talking billboard, being sharing all the information, giving away all your best information for free. There's best information. Information is just information until it's action, right? And are the people you're giving that information to willing to do the action? 90% of the time, probably 95% of the time, they aren't going to be willing to do it for multitude of reasons. And that's the problem. When you don't give it out, they don't even know you do it. They don't know your base of knowledge. They don't know that you have all this knowledge that they don't have, that they're willing to pay you for. They just don't know because they think, oh, that's Vince in the corner because I'm quiet. Well, okay, that was a lie. But Aaron, you have anything else to say?
Share information.
Share information?
Yeah.
Bomb dropper there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so that was episode 27. I appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks, and see you next time, guys.